and welcome once again to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David, and joined with me, as always, my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
I am become that, the destroyer of worlds.
We're here to talk about the second part of Barbenheimer, finally. Last week we delved in depth to Barbie, and this time a more serious tone of Oppenheimer.
Me and David had a day out in Dublin, trekked all the way up to see it in the IMAX, the biggest screen in our country, so, well, worth it.
Yeah. There's only, I think, in the whole country, the IMAX, the actual IMAX brand, there's only 3 screens, and it's in Cineworld in Dublin, Odeon in Blanchardstown, and I think Cineworld in Belfast. Yeah, so it's not like a regular screen. It's massive. It is literally IMAX branded, and we said there's a couple of movies this year that have to be seen on that IMAX screen, and Oppenheimer had to be one of them. This was my first time seeing a Nolan film in proper IMAX.
Yeah, this is the same for me as well. I've not ventured into IMAX much before, but yeah, first for me as well. This movie, Oppenheimer, is a first for quite a few things. I was thinking this to myself yesterday. For a 3-hour long movie where I could just about, with an immense of struggle, follow the dialogue heavy scenes and the plot of the movie, because it all had to discuss about the physics and political discussions.
Yeah, quantum mechanics, everything.
I struggled a whole lot to follow this movie. It doesn't matter which actor was delivering the lines. It doesn't matter if the music was getting me going. It doesn't matter if I knew this was an important scene that was a bit of an elemental stage in the next chapter of the story. I could be following the first half of the scene, and then they'd be talking so fast, and then I just I need to wind myself a bit, and I need to catch up in the middle of the scene, and the music's getting bigger, and now the people are getting more agitated, and the volume's getting louder, and there's adrenaline all around, and I know this scene is important, but I still just can't follow what they're saying, whether it's the science or the political talk. I knew it was important, and I knew, that actor, yeah. No, I know this scene's important because he's like this high up in the credits list.
Yeah.
So yeah. I did struggle quite a lot, but I still want to see this movie again.
Yeah.
I want to see this movie again, and I was even asking you after the movie, yeah, David, what was this scene about? And so Robert Downey Jr. was this in this story, and that's all he had to do with it, and so then what was Matt Damon's role really, and why were they trying to do this with Cillian Murphy's character? That's just an inkling of how much of a trek this movie was. It was draining.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's kind of well known for the high concept stuff, and you really have to be switched on and paying attention, like with the likes of Memento, where everything's played backwards and you have to be kind of clued in and picking up on things. And then Inception, we're going a dream within a dream within a dream. Tenet with,
I still don't know.
Not
Tenet.
so much the time travel, but you yourself can move backwards in time while time still moves forwards. So it's very much, he does very high concept stuff.
Yes.
And then in this one, it's not high concept, but it's still just as complicated, because we're talking about something that a fraction of the population knows about, which is quantum mechanics and, physics, and just, like you said there, it was hard to follow in terms of all that, the character relationships and their positions within not only the Manhattan Project, but then in the political field, because
not everyone in this movie is tied into the Manhattan Project.
No,
it's the aftermath of it.
Yeah, we jump back and forth in time a lot of times, because we'll
too many times.
Yeah, we'll go.
What I want is more.
We start off with Oppenheimer as a young guy in college.
A fine young looking Cillian Murphy for a middle-aged man.
And then you're jumping forward then to when he's meeting Robert Downey Jr.'s character, but then jumping forward again to when Robert Downey Jr. is given being
pretty much all his central focus.
Yeah,
scenes.
He's been interviewed to be a part of the to be a part of Congress, and then you're also moving back and seeing Oppenheimer, but he's older now and he's
being interrogated.
He's being interrogated, which is what Robert Downey Jr.'s character is being questioned on. So you are jumping back and forth a lot. So it is complicated. I don't blame anyone for not quite fully understanding. I don't understand a lot of what relationships certain people had to certain things. So I don't blame you. It was complicated in that sense.
But you still loved it.
But still, you are enthralled by it. There's like, the movie was marketed, I think, spectacularly for a movie that's essentially 3 hours of men talking in rooms.
Yeah.
About stuff that you just don't understand, but yet still you're like on the edge of your seat, like what's gonna happen? You know, you're like shaking.
Yeah.
You're just waiting because you know it's coming. You know what the end goal here is.
I like that I got two ends of that spectrum. I got one room of men talking, and it was just a plainly directed, lack of music, lack of intense editing, just talking. It's the scene where a couple of our characters in the room talking about the target in Japan and where to drop the bomb. So I was watching that scene, and you know, it's just a plainly directed scene, knowing what the dire situations are, and I all just thought to myself, this is not right. This is wrong, and it's accurate. This because it happened.
Yeah,
it's in color, so it can be interpreted. It's subjective, but I just thought to myself, this is wrong, but it's right because it happened.
Yeah.
The other scene that had me on the edge of my seat was the opposite, which is when we're getting to the climax and Oppenheimer is just defending himself in his actions in the Manhattan Project, rightfully so, and the music is just rising up to the point where you can't even hear what some of the characters are saying, but that doesn't really matter because you know the point they're trying to come across, and it's just very hard and heavy with the editing and the music, and then the background, which is moving. It's when you there's a lot of those scenes. So it's the one I'm talking about is when the bright of the explosion flashes on everyone, and
in the interrogation,
and that's obviously, you know, surreal moment. It's not happening in real time.
Yeah, you're more so in Oppenheimer's head and seeing it from his perspective.
We got a couple of those mental moments, which is interesting. I don't really get a whole lot of that. That's almost like that's as close as fantasy Nolan has ever really gotten in his films. Nolan ever only does war, drama, science fiction type of movies. He's delved into a couple of other subgenres with mysteries, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And back to the high concept projects he does. If you really think about it, Dunkirk, Memento, Oppenheimer, those movies in the hands of other directors are really just plain simple stories. Yeah. What Christopher Nolan does is, how can I implement the concept of time into this movie? And he does it into these movies by making it more intriguing, making it more capturing for the audience to, yes, like you said, pay attention. So like the Dark Knight movies excluded, that's in its own like circle of Christopher Nolan movies. Whereas to list them off, Memento, Insomnia, kinda, that's as straightforward as a movie as Django Unchained was for Quentin Tarantino. But Memento, Inception, Interstellar, I'll throw The Prestige in there, and Dunkirk, and definitely Tenet. All those movies have insertion of time in multiple different ways. So how does he play time in Inception? Dream within a dream within a dream. Time moves.
Time dilation.
Yeah. In Interstellar, time, the concept of it in space, how a minute could be a year.
It's all relative, depending on you.
And time in Dunkirk, it's not a scientifical measure in the movie. It's just how he decided to display the story. When you're with these characters, it takes place over the course of an hour. When you're with these characters, it takes place over the course of a day. When you're with these characters, it takes place over the course of a week. which is not a full week in my opinion, but that's just a little thing. And the same with Oppenheimer. We're going through like 3 to 4 to maybe 5 different continuous chronological storylines, jumping back and forth, and you could jump from black and white to one bit to a color to another black and white in another bit, and it comes across so very seamless. I love the use of black and white in this movie, and I didn't think it was like half and half. I think it was maybe 35% black and white.
Yeah.
It's 75 or 65% colour.
I'm pretty sure Christopher Nolan came out and said, I'm almost certain it was him anyway, that if you're viewing this movie, the black and white scenes are objective. These things happened.
Yes.
And then when it's in colour, it's subjective.
Yes.
And it's, open to interpretation. Any kind of biopic is in some way fictionalised.
Yeah.
And you get that. And he does it so well because he will show you the same scene twice.
Yeah.
Once in black and white and once in colour.
Yeah, we're talking about one particular scene in person. And I don't feel like I want to give away a whole lot of this movie. Like, no, what is there really to give away?
Yeah.
I think this is more of an experience as opposed to watching this movie. I want to watch this experience again on the big screen. I want to hear the music again.
I'll jump back to something you said there, kind of between what we said. Of when I said it was like, it's 3 hours of men in rooms talking.
Yes.
But even that, like, that might sound boring. It's not at all boring. And then, like you said there, where the guys are in the room and they're discussing where they're going to drop the bombs. Like, that's 10 guys in a room talking, and they're talking about the fate of 100,000 people's lives. Because one of the military men goes, we have a list of 12 targets, looks at it and goes, actually 11 targets. We're going to not drop the bomb on Kyoto because of its cultural significance. Like, takes a beat. And also, me and my wife vacation there. We went on our honeymoon there, and it's a lovely city. And you're like, holy shit, this guy literally just in 2 sentences saved 50 to 100,000 people and condemned 100,000 different people to death. And you're like, whoa. Like, these men in rooms are changing lives, and they're destroying lives and killing people. So it's not in any way like a boring 3 hours of men talking in rooms. It is like important stuff that it's good to see shown.
I wouldn't take any of it as boring at all. Like I said, hard to follow. It can be a bit of a struggle, and it can be a little draining. But no, never boring. Who's in this movie, Dave?
Everyone.
Who's not in this movie?
Nobody.
I think the guy next to you had
God, yeah.
Yeah, do you want to fill us in?
Yeah, well, I don't want to say too negative, but like,
No.
Our experience was a little bit troubling because the movie opened and they didn't turn the lights off.
And I said to you, David, this is taking me out.
Yeah. Well, what took me out then was the guy beside me who, I'm not joking, at every single person that came on screen turned to his girlfriend and told her who the actor was and where she would know him from. Like, literally, oh, that's Rami Malek. Oh, he's in Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh, that's Josh Peck. Oh, he's in Drake and Josh. Oh, that's Gary Oldman. He's in Harry Potter. I was like, man, come on, the credits come up at the end. Like, you can look this up when you get home. Like, why? Please, a little public service announcement. If you're in the cinema, just don't talk. Just keep your phones away and don't talk.
If you're going to be one of those people to whisper loud enough to
know everybody,
yeah,
know the whole cast,
yeah, try and list everyone. Then go for it. You big know-it-all, you big silly goose, you.
But for as big a cast as it was, I have to say the 2 standouts were Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr.
I think it's nice that both of those actors were in a leading role and supporting role in this movie, because then I think there's an equalness to it. If the 2 men were considered in leading roles, and you could argue that they are, both of them, as in Robert Downey Jr. is in a leading role, but I think if you label Robert Downey Jr. as a supporting role, it's just as big and equal to Cillian Murphy's leading role.
And it's incredible that they're in so few scenes together.
I think 2 scenes off the top of my head, you see them together, maybe 3.
Yeah,
and they're, it's like the yin and yang of the protagonist, the good and evil, essentially. I think Robert Downey Jr. was the absolute scene stealer of the movie, and Cillian Murphy as the leading man. First time. Cillian Murphy is now starring in a Christopher Nolan movie,
and he's been in loads. I have the list here. He's been in
as the leading man.
Yes.
He's always in supporting roles.
He's in Inception, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises as Scarecrow, Dunkirk, Oppenheimer. Like he is a constant collaborator with Christopher Nolan.
He was also in Inception as well.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, sorry about Inception. Yeah, sorry. Like he is. It's good to see him finally in the leading role.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was one of the first things I thought. Like, good on you. I hope. I've not heard a whole lot of buzz for like, yeah, go on the Irish with this, but how great is it that some man living in Wicklow or Wexford, wherever he is, this guy's working with arguably the best director in our generation.
Yeah,
that's insane. And in a leading role, Matt Damon can't say that. Robert Downey Jr. can't say that. Yes, they are playing highly significant roles in this, but Emily Blunt also can't say that. Rami Malek cannot say that. Our Irishman, Cillian Murphy, can.
And he's in like almost every scene.
Yeah.
Like I cannot think genuinely of a scene that he's not either a prominent feature in, where he is the main character in the scene, or where he's not being spoken about. It feels like this when even though the movie is called Oppenheimer, like it is genuinely his film.
It's not called The Atomic Bomb.
It's not called Trinity.
It's not called The Manhattan Project.
No, it is about J. Robert Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
And it shows the whole movie.
Yeah.
So obviously we were saying there we don't want to go too much into the actual plot of the film. I think it's definitely important that people go and see this film because
there's not really a whole lot that you can talk about the breakdown of the story. You can break it down into like chapters in like stages of the story before, during, and after the project. And I thought, okay, so after the project, it's a very heavy political.
I was surprised how long it went after.
Yes.
Because obviously it's leading up to us seeing the Trinity test.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, we're going to wrap it up here. But no, it goes for like 45 minutes to an hour. Like it's not just about the bomb. It's about the aftermath and the consequences of all that, which was...
It's also an effectively intriguing aspect of Oppenheimer himself in real life. Like, it's not... You don't just... Oh, this is the guy who... What's this movie? It's about the guy who made the atomic bomb. But it's... the movie isn't over when we see the effect of the bomb. The movie continues in what happens after. And we get a full good hour of that.
Which is true to life. It's not just dropping the bomb. There's an aftermath as well. But let's jump into maybe some flashbacks.
Okay, let's go into some flashbacks.
Thanks, Laura.
I've got a flashback, Dave, for you.
Hit me with it.
Yeah. So, do you know who played President Truman in this scene, in this movie? Yeah. We walk in and we see this old-looking man with fabulous dyed hair. Gary Oldman plays Truman for one scene. And it's funny that the recent headline since Oppenheimer was released, Gary Oldman shocking audiences about his surprise cameo in Oppenheimer. And I'm like, you noobs. He confirmed back in April 1st in 2022 that he was doing the Oppenheimer in this movie. He was promoting his Apple TV Plus show, Slow Horses. And he was asked what he was doing next. He said, Chris Nolan is working on a new film about Oppenheimer. One scene, a page and a half. That's all he had to read.
Probably an afternoon.
Yeah. It's like, hey Gary, you free? Do you want to come in and do this bit? And it's such a key political figure, played by such a key, lovable actor.
Isn't it funny that he played Truman in this and Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour? So he's after playing both of the main figures in the Allied forces.
And if you want to just throw the timeline of Dunkirk in that whole real life event, I feel like If you gather up all the war movies you can think of and just sort of watch them in chronological order, you know, a lot now. It's nice that now Christopher Nolan has done a war movie well into the early stages of World War II, and he's done another movie that pretty much covers the entirety of
Yeah, it
World
starts
War II.
before and continues after.
Yeah.
Into the Cold War.
And not a single gun is fired. Not a single punch is thrown.
In this one, no. Not that I can think of.
No, don't think
No.
so. You got any flashbacks for me?
I do. So Oppenheimer would be Nolan's first R-rated film since the 2002 film Insomnia.
We're going that far back?
Yeah, it's nearly 21 years. Yeah, 21 years since he had an R-rated film.
Why is it R-rated?
It is R-rated because, there's boobies in it. Florence Pugh gets her boobies out. And Cillian Murphy gets his boobies out too, but it's,
Yeah.
There's a problem. People have a problem with lady boobies, but not a problem with man boobies. Man can have his boobies out and it's no problem, but as soon as female boobies come out, R rating. No, thank you. Not for our kids.
I thought that the whole R rating scenes, essentially, which is primarily to do with Cillian Murphy, Florence Pugh, for the limited screen time she had, I really liked her.
Mm-hmm.
I liked every scene we saw with her. I liked revisiting back to her because knowing that she's not in the main story of the timeline, but I guess you could say she's in flashbacks, depending on how you would like to describe this movie.
Yeah.
I liked what she is to him and what he is to her. You did say that maybe we could have had maybe one extra scene to show a bit of a developmental stage in their relationship.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. In fact, I think I would appreciate another one or two more of those scenes just to make me care for her all the more.
As much as he did.
Yes.
Because they obviously meet and they have to spend the night together. And then the next time we see her, he's bringing her flowers and she's throwing them away. And it's like, don't bring me flowers.
Yes.
You know, and you get a real sense that she doesn't want him, but he wants her. But there's no reason given for that at all. Now, she clearly she was struggling with her mental health.
Which was told, not shown.
Yeah. So I think maybe if we had an extra scene or something like that, just to kind of clarify what their relationship was to each other,
yes,
as opposed to, now obviously we're seeing it from Oppenheimer's perspective and it is subjective.
Yes, but if you're throwing so much at Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Strauss, as like his own central scenes where Oppenheimer is not there, I think, like, where do you start and stop?
Yeah.
How many people do you get to include into scenes where they are leading their narratives without the lead character, without the named character there? Is it just because the scenes we have characters there without Oppenheimer, they're in black and white, therefore this is objectively fact. This happened. There's no interpretation. Maybe that's the argument. Whereas every scene we have of Florence Pugh is in colour. Maybe. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Interesting fact about the R rating. I've got another flashback for you, David. This one is also another casting, or at least lack thereof. Did you know that Michael Caine has appeared in every Christopher Nolan movie since Batman Begins? Before that, the last movie was Insomnia. Michael Caine was not in it. So from Batman Begins to The Prestige to The Dark Knight Rises to Inception to The Dark Knight, strike that, reverse it, to Interstellar, and a surprise little audio only cameo in Dunkirk, and then a quick day cameo in Tenet. He's not in he's not in Oppenheimer, and Christopher Nolan said he is with us in spirit talking about Michael Caine. He wasn't able to join, he wasn't available, and he's loved working with him over the years, but you know, it's funny that people notice that he's not in this movie, but they would not notice that he is in Dunkirk. He's speaking to Tom Hardy on the radio. And so, yeah, I just thought that's an interesting fact.
It is, yeah.
Maybe he could have had him on one of the committees, but it also just would have been, I think it would have been less of a scene or less of an appearance than the one he had in Tenet. Because in Tenet, at least he had him and John David talking back and forth to each other for like a minute. And it was a quick, fast minute. Mm-hmm. Like, even here,
it's a very short scene in Tenet. I remember that. Yeah, but I definitely could have seen him on either the Congress board or in the room with Oppenheimer during the tribunal.
Yes, but then in that, I would like him to have more of a standout cameo.
Yeah.
I don't want, if he's going to share a room with a bunch of other men, I would like him to have more dialogue than he would allow to have.
Yeah.
Because if you were to have him just be one individual amongst a crowd of men, compare that to a cameo.
Yeah, it's distracting.
Compared to a cameo as a voice only on the radio, and that's Michael Caine. You know, it's I think the cameo of his voice would stand out more. Like, as opposed to there's Michael Caine, but we just never see him again.
Yeah, I suppose it could be distracting. I suppose if you have him there and he's not like the central person on the committee.
Yes.
So you're like, why do you have Michael Caine there and you're not using him?
Yes.
Do you know?
It's like, and that even just goes back to every other actor in this movie. Any actor who popped up, did it ever become distracting? Like, there's that actor.
Well, it did when your man beside me was telling me everyone.
But if you were watching this, did it take you out of the movies? Like, oh Jesus, look at this guy, I know him from that movie, and now I'm thinking about him from that movie because he was so great from that movie.
It did initially for certain people.
Yes.
But then like you get over it because they fit the character.
Because the movie is not dwelling on you. I like that Christopher Nolan grabs all these actors into this movie, likely taking pay cuts because they want to work with him so much. They don't care about the role they're given. They just want to work with him. And Nolan is treating these actors not like celebrities. It's like, oh my god, I have this actor because he won an Oscar, and I gotta give him so much heavy meat and to deliver this line and pull off this performance. I'm talking. Let me give you an example. Rami Malek.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say that.
So he had one standout scene which, that's why Rami Malek's in this movie. But he had like maybe two other quick non-dialogue scenes in colour, and I suppose there's Rami Malek. There's Rami Malek. There's Rami Malek again. And like, okay, so wait, I suppose
he's playing the role in those scenes of just like an extra.
Yes.
He's someone just with a clipboard, like with one line.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, why did you get Rami Malek? Like because he is a prolific actor and he's an Oscar winner. He won Best Actor, and then you have him in this role that's not a speaking role. It's for all intents and purposes
because he's not ready to use him in the movie yet. But his earlier appearances garnet what his role is in his high point of the movie. And I like how, as I said, Nolan is treating these as the characters they are in the story, not like I seen your work. Yeah, you're gonna stand over there and you're just gonna say nothing and just do this, and you're gonna do your best. Why? Because he's Christopher Nolan, and they're taking pay cuts for this, and like I think that's crazy to think about in this day and age. Like Christopher Nolan, if he got Dwayne Johnson in one of his movies, he'll treat Dwayne Johnson no different than he treats any other actor in his movie. Why? Because he's Christopher Nolan. Another actress he did the same approach was Emily Blunt. How long was she sitting behind Cillian Murphy in the corner
until she said anything? Yeah, she said it a long time.
Yeah. Like, what did you do today? I was in Christopher Nolan movie. Oh yeah, what? How did that thing go? I just sat in the corner, said nothing.
Like, it's very much, you can tell that he'll hire you for the job.
Yes.
As long as you fit, regardless of your status.
Yes.
And he will treat you the same as anyone else,
and
whether you're an extra or whether you're the female lead. You're like, well, you're not. You don't have dialogue in this scene, so you're sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
It's
doesn't matter that your name comes second in the movie.
Yeah, it's like what fits the story.
Yes.
Regardless of the name.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's not, and I did not I suppose I forced myself to think, oh yeah, Cillian Murphy and Emily Blunt worked together before in A Quiet Place Part 2.
Yes, yes.
But I forced myself to think about that when watching this movie. Whereas it just didn't bother me. It didn't make me think, you two worked together before in these two separate roles and characters. But yes, it's nice. It's just how Nolan does such a great job with this movie.
Well, actually, speaking of, actors that want to work with Nolan, another flash fact there is that Matt Damon was originally to take a break from acting as a promise to his wife with one condition. He would put his break on hold if Christopher Nolan called. And then Nolan called and offered Damon the role of Leslie Groves, putting his break, once again, on hold. So he said, I'm going to take a break unless Christopher Nolan calls. Who's the first person that rings? Christopher Nolan. I've got a role for you, Matt. And he's like, oh, well, I'm back out there. And, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
He had a very small role in Interstellar. Well, not very small.
Not very small.
He had a small role.
Big enough for a decent supporting role. Him as an actor was too big for that role. But the fact that it was him in that role. Yeah.
And so he obviously wanted to work with him again in a more prominent...
Hey, he's not going to say no.
No. Would you?
No.
No. So...
Actually, I might.
We're not actors, so...
Yeah. I liked Matt Damon in this role. He seemed like a reserved ally. Like, he can be an ally until a certain limit.
Yeah, and Oppenheimer pushes that limit a lot.
And in that line delivery, that's all over the trailer. Just why? Just because this is probably the biggest historical event in the history of the world. Like, it was good. He was good. I didn't. It's just funny. Like, when I'm thinking about Oppenheimer, I suppose maybe he would be the third character or actor I would think of, maybe, or I don't know. When I just think Oppenheimer, you're thinking Cillian Murphy. But the next one I'm thinking is Robert Downey Jr.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's about it. That's an interesting one. I've got one more flash fact for you for this today, folks. My final flash fact is, this movie, aside from a couple of shots enhanced by visual effects, CGI essentially, there's no other CGI shots in this movie. This movie used everything as real as it could be, all practical, all manual, real life, light-threatening effects. I'm going to talk specifically about the bomb that blew up.
And it's not that there was no visual effects, it's that there was no CGI.
Yes.
Which is insane.
Yes.
Yeah. Just because I think a lot of people get that mixed up.
Anything you see in this movie was shot on the day.
Yeah.
Anything that was done digitally on the computer was just basic editing.
Yeah. Visual effects. It was an effect as opposed to...
No digital CGI, essentially. Yeah. The effects were not digital. Have we made the point to come across? So what did he do? Yeah, Christopher Nolan, he'll make an entire set that will rotate for an actor to run across. He did in Inception. Yeah. Or he'll build an actual fifth dimension in what it can be for Matthew McConaughey to go around in strings.
Or crashing the plane into the hangar.
Yeah, he'll crash a plane and he'll blow that plane up.
Because it's cheaper to do it. He said, it's cheaper to do it practically than to pay someone to do it in CGI.
Well, Christopher Nolan, he didn't, blow up a real nuke. He just made a really, really big explosion. Really, really big explosion. And Nolan had Andrew Jackson, who was his visual effects supervisor, on board in the early stages. In exploring the practical approaches to capture various elements of the film, ranging from quantum dynamics and physics to recreate the Trinity test itself. So, in also creating the set of Los Alamos, which is where they built the bomb, the making of the bomb was actually quite difficult and no doubt dangerous to make. But in how they created the quote-unquote safe, non-real nuclear bomb, they were able to pull off the grandiose scale and scope of the bomb by placing the bomb so close to the camera where it fills the entire frame, but it's not as big as the actual bomb itself. He just blew up a real thing.
Yeah.
He made a real explosion.
You can make it look like it's an atom bomb though.
And he made the bomb so close to come up to the camera where it feels like, just fill the whole frame of this R form of the sun. The combination of black powder explosion, petrol magnesium flares, and also various oils and particles, which all helped the creation of the mushroom cloud as well. So all these little ingredients made for the special effect of the nuclear bomb, making it look real, just small in scale. So Christopher Nolan goes all in.
Yeah, no half measures.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think that wraps our segment of flashbacks.
Laura, cue the music.
Thanks, Laura. So as we were talking about that bomb there, I have to say the bomb, while it looks spectacular, the sound design in that scene.
This whole time, I bet me and you were all just only looking forward to, rightfully so, the visual, captivating moment of it all. How big is it going to be? How is it going to look? How majestic is it going to come across from our naked eye? Little did we realise that it was the sound design.
Yeah.
The sound design where 5, 4, 3, 2.
We could hear a pin drop in the cinema. Like, it was a full packed theatre, but you could hear everyone holding their breath.
It's almost like what have they done in this moment? You know, and in that silence, you get that line delivery. I'll not say it here because you gotta watch the movie to earn the goosebumps moment. And then you forgot that
the light moves faster than sound.
And the moment where you flinched because the bomb went off, you forget that we're in a moment of silence. It actually does make you flinch when the bomb goes off. Yeah,
when you hear the sound waves hit, you hear the explosion. Yeah, even though you've seen it and you've been looking at it for the last minute, then bam, when the sound hits, the two of us jumped in our seats. We couldn't believe it. It's oh my god. Yeah, it was crazy.
It's like witnessing God before you witness the devil.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to describe it. Yeah, definitely. It's like you got this incredible visual of light, and then you are absolutely scared shitless by the sound that it made.
I just thought of that right there on the spot.
That was very good. That was good. I like that.
I get once a month.
But the whole sound design throughout the film, the soundtrack, everything. Ludwig Göransson, fantastic.
Yeah,
amazing.
The fact that I pointed him out to you before I said anything when his name came up in the credits, it's like, dude, this guy is capable of so much more. Yeah, and he's staying.
Yeah, he's like the next Hans Zimmer. I think he's on the right path. Yeah, I can't wait to listen to what he does next.
You know, when we're thinking about the cast, the incredible ensemble. Like, if you want to see every actor in Hollywood, there's only a few movies you get to watch this year to see that. Oppenheimer is one of them. You know, we have Casey Affleck show up for one extended scene. We have Jack Quaid and Josh Peck and Gustav Skarsgård and Benny Safdie appear in very much supporting roles as just members of their team. You got Jason Clarke as a pretty good interrogator. You know, a role quite suitable for his demeanor. And Alden Ehrenreich, I liked who he was in this movie. He was pretty good, bouncing off Robert Downey Jr.
Josh Hartnett as well as the professor. He was great. I
really did like him. He was an early friend in the tragedy before it unfolds.
Then Dane DeHaan, David Dashmalican. Yeah, he's great. Anytime he pops up, I'm like, he's a winner. I love him. And then even David Krumholtz. When he came on, yeah.
So who was he? Because I kind of forgot he was in it. He's an actor I forgot, and I had to look at the credits, and oh my god, who was he?
Yeah, he was.
Was he the guy in the train car with the glasses?
Yes, he was his friend throughout.
I didn't recognize him at all.
When he came on, I thought, oh, that's Oscar Isaac in makeup. But then I realized as the scene went on, I was like, no, that's Bernard from the Santa Claus movies.
Is that him?
That's him. Yeah. I was like, oh, I know him. Yeah.
Is he in a prosthetic
no,
suit?
I think that's just him.
That's just him.
I thought it was Oscar Isaac in a prosthetic suit.
I didn't recognize him, and I thought, who is that? That is not David Crumbles. Oh my god. Jesus. Then who else was in this movie that we didn't give a good mention?
Tom Conti. Albert frickin' Einstein.
I love how Einstein was portrayed in this movie. He had scenes in both black and white and in colour. There's like four scenes essentially. His introduction, which was, I suppose, we get in black and white and in colour. Mm-hmm. So that's two separate scenes. We get a scene where he's been given the calculations, which is a nice feed up into the closing of the movie. Mm-hmm. And then there's another scene where he goes up to Oppenheimer, and if it was in colour, I think a car drives away and then you see him coming to him. It almost felt like as a coloured scene, as a scene that can be interpreted as examined by Nolan's statements. That was like, did that really happen? Was that real? Mm-hmm. Could that have just been a dream? Mm-hmm. You know, because it feels very overly dramatic for a non-dramatic movie or a non-dramatized movie. Mm-hmm. But Einstein in this movie, he is like the all-father in a world that has since decayed or is in the process of decaying into what we are in today. Mm-hmm. And it's like Einstein is in his Einstein is in his final days, while his quote-unquote protege is the mastermind of it all. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, I just like seeing them two geniuses on screen together. Mm-hmm. Not that I woke up on the 1st of January this year thinking I can't wait to see these two like Avengers, like real life figures bounce off each other, and like it's like Captain America and Tony Stark working together. Mm-hmm. And like you know, that's what you're gonna get for this movie.
He was used sparingly, and he was used in a good way that it's like
quite effectively.
Like everyone knows Einstein.
Yes.
If you are describing a smart person, that's one of the first. Like he's just culturally known as like the smartest man.
Yes.
Einstein. Now whether he's the smartest man or not, that's up for debate. Whatever.
In his era, yeah.
Yeah, but he's very much used as like, oh, you know, back in my day, I figured this out and then I stopped. And he's not like someone that comes in and fixes things and you know figures it out for them. He's very much like, oh, do you mind looking at this? Like he's like in a teacher role.
Yes.
Of like, oh, can you check this out for me? And then towards the end, when they are there, they are almost equals, and they're very much like Oppenheimer is going to become what Einstein is of like.
But the world
will come to him.
But the world is changed.
Yeah.
It's a different world now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I really liked it. I thought Gary Oldman was going to be playing Einstein. Don't know why.
There's another one we forgot to mention, Gary Oldman. Kenneth Branagh. Yeah. I know we mentioned him earlier. Kenneth Branagh was in it.
Kenneth Branagh, yeah, wow. Always appearing up in a movie where he's putting on an accent that's not English.
Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh, yeah, Jesus. I think it's so fascinating that Kenneth Branagh, as an established director and actor he is taking direction from Christopher Nolan. Mm-hmm. I want to see them two like together. Wow. Kenneth Branagh, damn. That is just crazy.
Because he's been a consistent collaborator now with Dunkirk and Tenet.
Yeah, so this is the third time he's had him in here.
So I wonder will we get a...
Yeah, it's like, Ken, you free today? You got this free up? Mm-hmm. It's just funny that all these people making themselves available. You know, Casey Affleck was in Interstellar.
Yeah.
And he was... It's such a supporting role as a supporting role can be in it. Timothée Chalamet played a younger version of Casey Affleck in Interstellar, and now he's leading the starring roles for Denis Villeneuve's Dune. This is just crazy.
Nolan knows how to find them.
No. What did you think of the sudden edit snippet that would come on screen that would frighten you about what the physics would look like in describing them? So it would be the flashes of explosions, or it would be like
I thought it was a good way to present what they're talking about, because like we were saying, where they're talking about quantum mechanics and they're talking about physics and all this stuff.
Yeah, all the boring stuff. Yeah.
It's very easy to just, I don't understand what they're saying, but to have like him,
to show you
there's the possibility of we ignite this bomb and it ignites the atmosphere,
and
then you see the world as if it was the whole atmosphere
being ignited,
and you're like, wow, that's really scary. Or even just like, this reaction causes this, and you just see it, and you see what an explosion would look like within the molecules and all that stuff. And I thought it's a really good way of just giving us a visual of what they're saying.
Yes.
Without that going overboard. We're in his head, he's imagining it, and that's what we see as well.
That is Christopher Nolan's way of dumbing it down for you, and that's no way in shape.
But it doesn't feel like it's dumbed down.
No, it's not. It is what it exactly is. He's making it more appeal. He's making it more welcoming for us to stay engaged in the journey. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah. If I could wrap up, I suppose, this Oppenheimer talk, talking about Christopher Nolan again. Who would you like to see work with Christopher Nolan next? Who would you like to see, whether it be a writer, a composer, an actor, anyone? Who would you like to see him work with next? Maybe not next, but just in general.
In future. Because he's worked with some actors, I'd love to see him get down with Robert Downey Jr. again. I'd like him to grab Timothée Chalamet now that he's been more established than he ever was. But if I wanted, let's say, a fresh actor, because I can't really, describe a cinematographer that would suit Nolan, or a writer that would suit Nolan. So I'll just stick with actors. I wanted an actor to work with Christopher Nolan for the first time. I would like to choose Margaret Robbie.
That's a good choice.
Yeah. Not because of Barbenheimer at all. I just thought, well, look what Quentin Tarantino did with her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. As regardless of what that role was, the fact that she got him, I think it would just be cool to say, oh yeah, Margaret Robbie, now she can add Nolan to the list. I think it was pretty cool. But let me just throw you one last quick one. Denzel Washington.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Just imagine that.
Yeah.
You want to throw another one in? Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let me throw those Goliaths in there,
Yeah.
But that's already too many names I've thrown at the list. Have you got one?
I would say for actor, Dave Bautista.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. If he can do what he does with Denis Villeneuve 3 times now, what could he do with Christopher Nolan?
That's it. I don't even know, but I just want to see that possibility of them together.
Yeah.
And then
he's done a great job with James Gunn and Zack Snyder and Ryan Johnson now. So
yeah, exactly. So he's
that list is only getting bigger.
And M. Night as well. When we talk about Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah.
So he's finding those good roles, and I think Christopher Nolan would find a good role for him.
We love Dave Bautista.
Yeah, we do. Another actor, maybe J.K. Simmons. Maybe not as a prominent role,
but a standout supporting role.
Yes.
Oh, that is a great choice.
And then maybe with a writer, Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin. Off the top of my head, when I think Aaron Sorkin, I mostly think of dialogue-heavy, interesting stories.
Yeah.
That I feel like Aaron Sorkin. Yeah, I suppose this is an Aaron Sorkin movie. What has he done for us?
So he's done Social Network, Molly's Game, and Trial of Chicago 7.
So he directed Molly's Game and Trial.
Yeah.
Did he write any other projects?
He was a main writer on The West Wing.
Oh, yes. Because sometimes I would confuse Aaron Sorkin with Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, you're very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe it's just the A in their surname, I think, or the A somewhere in their names. But Aaron Sorkin, yeah, I think with Trial... Oh, Aaron
he-
Sorkin
he
also,
wrote
Moneyball.
Moneyball and Steve Jobs.
He
and
also...
A Few Good Men.
He also directed Javier Bardem and Nicole Kidman in Being the Ricardos.
Yeah.
I saw that on Prime. Why are his movies not coming in cinemas? Yeah, so that's interesting. He better go direct and write something for Apple TV Plus if he just wants to make relationships with the streaming services.
Yeah.
I love that we're on sync. Oh man, this was quite an experience for a Christopher Nolan experience. How great is it now that after Tenet, he now has this movie released, and this movie pretty much stamps it into the concrete ground of, don't forget I'm Christopher Nolan, and don't be so quick to say Denis Villeneuve is better, which I was on the verge of saying.
It's good to see that Christopher Nolan, like, he can do the high concept stuff, but even with a biopic,
As simple as a story can be.
yeah, he still is able to make it interesting and put his own personal stamp on it.
Yeah.
Because in any other hands, Oppenheimer would have been a very much
Bland, straightforward.
just straightforward story about only Oppenheimer, not about Strauss at all, and it
Yeah.
would have ended at the Trinity test.
Yeah.
But I think that
100% agree with you completely. And we wouldn't get the cast of this movie.
not at all.
That's it.
No.
That's it.
Not even close.
It's like when you compare the cast and the main cast of this movie, so the top 5 or 6 or 7 actors of this movie, compared to the main cast of Dune 1 or Dune 2. Well, Oppenheimer, unlike Dune, has so many actors in roles that they could be considered as D-list extra actors, save for like one pivotal scene of dialogue delivery, like Casey Affleck or Rami Malek. You know, it's like the fact that he's able to get Gary Oldman for an afternoon. You know, Cillian Murphy looks at the call sheet and says, Gary Oldman. The next day, Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, you're just working with so many
Yeah.
fantastic actors, even for if it is just for a day. It's great. Should we do some recommendations before we wrap this up?
Oh yeah, I got a recommendation.
Go for it. Hit me with it.
I watched this movie a while back. I think it was in April this year. It was a movie starring Jenna Ortega before she was Jenna Ortega Wednesday Addams. You know, it's called The Fallout.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Also starring Maddie Ziegler, that dancer girl from
the
Dance
Sia
Mom.
videos,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and all that. Oh yeah, the Sia videos, I suppose. She's more so of a dancer, but she pulled off some acting chops in this movie. This movie is just about teenagers dealing with surviving a school shooting and how that can sort of affect the adolescence of kids in that phase. How the innocence is taken away, how grief and trauma it doesn't go away. And I thought that was quite strong, and the ending really actually hit me, because the ending deals with something that I, as an audience viewer, knowing the aspect of school shootings, well, let's just say they don't stop. They just keep going, because America is stupid. And call me out on it.
I agree.
A 16-year-old can go in and buy a gun, but they can't buy alcohol.
Yeah, the fact that these things keep happening.
Yeah,
And that, you know,
We're-
movies like this are shown to show other people the effects of it.
yes.
You know, it's yeah, crazy.
Have you got a recommendation?
I do.
for us?
It's not as
It's not as dour and sad as
no.
mine.
My one this week is Brokeback Mountain. Ever heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Two cowboys played by Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger. They meet and they go up on a mountain and they become best friends. And I just thought it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I had heard, you know, I think everyone kind of knows the basic plot of Brokeback Mountain and the themes and
They
and
don't just be.
they become a
best-
bit more than best friends,
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I had it on my list for ages. I decided, oh, you know what, I'll watch that. I was surprised at how good it was. Genuinely, I thought it was visually beautiful because it has these huge vistas of them on the mountain.
Yeah.
Their relationship with each other, the performances by both Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger gives such a reserved performance, that, you know, it was like by the end of the movie I was like, wow, I deeply care for these characters and what they're going through, and I didn't even realize it until the end. I was like, wow, it was really hitting me emotionally. So if you haven't seen Brokeback Mountain, or you have seen it, watch it again.
I have seen it.
Yeah, watch it again. It's good. And like we were saying yesterday, we were kind of talking about it. It's amazing. It's crazy that Heath Ledger is gone, and he was so young in that performance. He was only 28 when he passed.
Yeah, to me,
we're 26.
Yeah, to me, Heath Ledger is a 40-year-old man.
Yeah,
he's not our age.
No, not at all. He is, you know, the 40-year-old man in Brokeback Mountain. He's the Joker. He's the knight in A Knight's Tale. Like he's these big characters that are older.
Did you see that interview about Brokeback Mountain where one of the guys asking a question about this movie and like, well, it's disgusting?
No.
Did you see that interview?
No.
Yeah, so folks, there's an interview where this guy, he pretty much says, yeah, this movie's disgusting. Not in those words, but I believe he uses the word disgusting in it.
Yeah,
and
clearly
LGBTQ. Just watch Heath Ledger's response to that. It's almost like he was insulted, but he took it like a man and just pretty much shut him out.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I remember listening to that and oh fuck, we lost one of the good ones.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but he passed away.
Far too young. Far too young.
Yeah.
Listen, sorry to end it on a bit of a sad note, but we'll end the podcast there. I think, if that's okay.
Oppenheimer didn't really end on a happy note either.
No, it didn't. So, a bit of a somber end. So, if you wouldn't mind following us on Instagram, if you
I still would have done Barbenheimer this way.
Yes, I think if you are going to do Barbenheimer for some reason, do Barbie and then Oppenheimer.
Yeah, don't do Oppenheimer and then Barbie. You're just not going to be ready for the happiness of Barbie after the down note of, you know, Oppenheimer.
Yeah, definitely. If you made it this far, thank you so much. We really appreciate you listening. If you want to give us 5 stars, we really, really appreciate it. It costs you nothing. It helps us out. It shows visibility for the podcast, so more people get to listen.
We're on Instagram at Talking Pictures Podcast.
I think it's just Talking Pictures
Pod shit. Keep messing that up there.
It's okay.
You're the better one.
We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We are. Everything is down below in the description. If you want to send us your recommendations, if you want to send us questions, anything like that, send it into talkingpicturespodcast1@gmail.com. We're banking them up there now. We're going to do a few episodes now with viewer suggested topics and stuff like that. So look out for those over the coming weeks. I think that's it.
We're not just on Spotify, are we?
No, we're on any podcast platform of choice. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Index, Pocket Casts, Podcast Addict. We have a link tree as well. That's in our description. So if you want to find anything, it's all in the description, all in our link tree. So make sure to find us all down there. We post new episodes every single Wednesday. When you wake up first, they go live at midnight. So when you wake up, you're going on that morning walk, listen to the boys talking about Oppenheimer. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, David.